Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories in the art. Well, this is a follow-up to some of the religious comics that I covered on previous weeks. And what we're going to look mostly at here is this Joseph, the kid whose dreams came true. But I told you in another one, I had about a little over a week or so ago, I had done an episode here on this, Adventures with the Brothers from Spire Comics by Al Hartley. And I had uploaded it, and it was up for about 4 or 5 hours. And I had some problems, and I accidentally deleted that video. And I'd already deleted the original video from the phone, so I couldn't re-upload it. I want to just briefly mention it because 1982, Al Hartley, Spire Comics. Okay, Al Hartley did all those Spire Comics with featuring Archie and original characters like the brothers. I think there were a total of 3 brothers adventures, and this is, I'll just briefly mention it here. Show nice Al Hartley stuff. An actual adventure story, and it's of course it's a religious. There's religion all through it, but it's not so in your face, and not so preachy and stuff. And of course they find about this group of drug smugglers on this island here in the Caribbean, helping this gal escape. They have to escape together, and then she tells her backstory of her how she got drawn into drugs. It's some really nice artwork here on these. I recently talked about Al Hartley with also with Patsy and Hetty comic. That was years before this, and they scuttled the boats, got away. Don't know. Skiing on the amphibious boat. Don't know how it managed to climb back in, but then a storm hit, and the storm hit, basically wiped out the island. One of the guys trying to get away, and he gets chomped by the shark. Oh, the shark bites with his teeth dare, and he keeps them pearly white. And then the girl that they had rescued, in the end, she is converted over, has lots of other stuff. It's some of the typical Spire stuff. It's a decent adventure story. I like the Spire comics, and well, they're just overall kind of fun, as well as just being a little bit on the unusual side. Then, these aren't exactly comics. I wanted to talk about these, the GNU Growth Book. And the GNU Growth Book Volume 2. These are from 1983 and 84 from GNU, which is Good News Underground. I said this is the fledgling disciples. You can see the artwork. And here's Underground is kind of right. It has kind of, the artwork has kind of an underground look and feel to it, except it's all religious. It's not exactly a comic. It has some comic style pages, but it's mostly instruction and stuff like that. Has some nice artwork, and these were done by Steve Gregg. A GNU Growth Book by Steve Gregg. And I said these two were done from 83 and 84. And Steve Gregg was born in 1953 in Southern California to devoutly Christian parents, and he was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis twice as a small child. Later, that diagnosis was changed to celiac disease, and with treatment for celiac, for that his health recovered by the removal of gluten and stuff in his diet. Many years later, he was tested, and there were no markers for celiac disease in his DNA. He claims that that's a miracle, rather than the more like. What is more likely is that it was another misdiagnosis. And as he grew up, he got into music and the ministry. And now he has a ministry called Narrow Path, which used to be the Good News Underground. and he has done many books in this fashion, many books and over 50 cartoon tracks. And somewhere I have had one of his tracks as well. They were along the lines of the stuff of the Chick tracks as far as being a cartoon comic strip, but they're not. And they are, from what I have seen, they are better than see, this is more comic strip, more comic style. Is is not as hit over the head, and not as what am I trying to say? Not as hateful as the Chick tracks can be. So, now, one of the reasons I wanted to mention, talk about this guy is his artwork. He is still going, still working. He still has his ministry, and while I was doing research for him, I found some videos with him in like an interview and stuff, and so he is still active in the ministry. But I wanted to talk about his artwork because, like I said, it has a very underground look, and just to look at it, it looks like he has had a strong influence, been strongly influenced by, maybe why he called it Good News Underground, is R. Crumb influence in his artwork. But it's possible that it wasn't Crumb's influence so much as mutual influence of, because he would have been about the right age to have gotten in on some of the Basil Wolverton humor comics. And Basil Wolverton, who I've talked about many times here, was also a big influence on Robert Crumb. Okay, now the main part that I wanted to talk about here is this book, Joseph, the Kid Whose Dreams Came True. It's 89. This is from 1987. This is done by, what was his name? Mumma or Mumma. I think it's Mumma. It was a Nebraskan cartoonist artist, and he was born in 1932, and he got out of the Army in 1962, and he was an illustrator in the Army, and he went right into working with a Nebraska-based ministry, doing artwork for them. He's done some other non-religious related stuff, commercial stuff as well, and that would make him in his 90s now, if he's still alive. I'm not sure if he is. I didn't find anything about his death. Okay, in this series, and this is from Tyndale House. He did 4 of them. There's Joseph, one on Samson, one on Moses, and one on Jesus. And for that, at that time, I want to get Samson. I have some ways the one on Moses, but I like this. Listen, Joseph. And for those who don't remember, this is the same biblical story, Old Testament story, that was the inspiration for the rock opera Joseph and his amazing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and it's the same story, of course, and while reading this and trying to do some research for it, of course, I come back to, because I hadn't seen Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in many, many years. And Donny Osmond has more recently starring on that on Broadway and other places. I don't know if it's still in production or not. But there is, if you're interested, there is a version, Donny Osmond version, and it was done for video, not for so much for the stage, with the original stage cast and the like, available for free on YouTube with commercials. And so, if you're interested in that, check that out. It's a real fun production. This issue, From the Pits to the Palace. Okay, so if you're not familiar, this is the story of Joseph, who is, at the time, was the youngest son of Jacob, the Jewish patriarchs, and he was his favorite son. had a total of 12 there. This is when he had come. Now, the artwork is very kind of loose. It's very nicely done, cartoonish, visual storytelling, and it's something that is good. Well told for kids, anyway, and it's fun for an adult to read as well. Of course, Joseph had the dreams, the sheaves of wheat of his brothers would bow down to his sheaves, and that they didn't like that. They grabbed him, they threw him in the well. This isn't his father. He was his father's favorite. Gave him the a great multicolored coat to wear, and they took that, tore it up, and said he was killed by a wild animal. They wound up selling him into slavery, and he went to Egypt, and had a good position there until he was kind of basically framed by the guy's master's wife, thrown in jail. Then he was talking about stuff about dreams with the Pharaoh. They learned that he could interpret dreams. So warned the Pharaoh about the famines, 7 years of bumper crops and 7 years of famine, etc. And put Joseph in charge. Then his brothers came from Canaan, from the land of Canaan, where he was from, and to Egypt, trying to get grain and get some food. And he recognized them, but they did not recognize him, and he tricked them and everything until ultimately he found his another younger brother who had been born after he left, as Benjamin, and he learned that his brothers who had mistreated him had basically turned over a new leaf. They were even willing to sacrifice themselves for the benefit of their younger brother. Then he reveals himself to his brothers and has them bring his father and all their families, which was dozens and dozens of people, where they could dwell in Egypt, or given prime real estate for farming and stuff in the land of Goshen. And everything was hunky-dory, except one thing they don't really mention here is that this is the beginning of what in the Bible is called the 400 years of slavery for the Hebrews in Egypt. So, but they don't tell a story how it goes from them being honored guests and residents of Egypt to becoming oppressed slaves in Egypt. But the story is it's a fun little book. It's called, this is from Tyndale House. It's called Cosmics, from Cosmics Comics, and it's from Tyndale House, who is a well-established publisher of religious materials. So that is all I really had to share with you this time. And of course, the main thing is Joseph, the kid whose dreams came true. And it's a fun story. I really like the opera, rock opera of Joseph, Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's a lot of fun. So if you've never seen it, I recommend you check that out. This book was fun to read as well, and of course, I won't get into the actual historic aspects or not of the story, but it's still a fun story. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave your comments down below, and remember, comics are art.